I'm going to be doing some drawing and sketching and whatnot here as we prepare.
As people are coming in, Joel, your nose is against. This is their first view of you today.
Right, like
It's great.
All right. The journey. I'm really
Hello,
excited.
everyone. Welcome to
Yeah.
the weekly briefing. Joel has an idea. Apparently, he's sketching it out here. He didn't want to lose his thought.
Yes, the journey from know to like to trust. We'll get into that today. And I think we're going to have a good turnout today, is my guess, Tim, because whenever we share poll results, statistics, sales figures, that kind of stuff, there's usually a lot of people that are like, okay, I think that's worth it. I'll go listen to those blowhards.
Just in case. Well, look at these pondering images that we have here. How could they not look at this image? And
I know, right?
they're clearly thinking. There must be revolution thinking right there.
Tim was having a good laugh at my expense. He's like, Joel looks like he's looking up at the rain clouds.
You have like your rain hat and overcoat on. Is it going to rain today? That's what yours.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't know what I'm looking at.
So Tim, we do have, I will say this information we're going to share today is it's interesting. I think in a way, what's nice about it is the idea of you sense things, your brain kind of picks up on certain patterns, and then you actually go out to a group of people and say, hey, everyone raise your hand, this or that. And when you get that feedback that corresponds to what you've been sensing, it's kind of nice to know, oh, I'm not crazy. It's real. It's a thing.
I kind of appreciate that. Like the community has that ability anyway to let you know that you're not alone, the only one thinking this. So for us we don't do this very often, but to put a poll out there and just get a temperature reading of how's it going? Even as consultants, we talk to a lot of people on a weekly basis, but we don't have 100% visibility on what's going on. So there's a part of me that's kind of excited to see these numbers as well.
Right. So I'm going to add a little information. Oh, we should get started, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
We inspired something today. You're just like writing like crazy.
I know. Well, I've got my little diagrams in my book here that I needed to add a little more information so that they're legible or comprehensible. Okay, I'll kick us off here, shall we? Let me fix my camera that I bumped here a moment ago. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Joel, joined by my colleague Tim here. Welcome to the weekly briefing. Tim, I'm going to put, I'm already spotlit. You're way ahead of me. I'm going to go to my
What can
speaker.
I say? I got some skills.
It is Wednesday, October 4th, 5:03 here on the East Coast. Tim, what time is it on the West Coast?
Well, it'd probably be 2:03 then. I just subtract 3 hours from your 2 hours.
Our things have really gotten off the rails.
Yeah, right.
All right. So if you're here at the weekly briefing for the first time, this is a 30-minute habit that Tim and I started way back in COVID when everything was just going to heck in a handbasket. And we did this every day for 100 days straight. And it became a weekly thing because we couldn't keep up. But we stopped for 30 minutes each week to look at a trend that's happening in the industry, something that business owners are talking about. Maybe it's a hot topic that we're seeing in the community. And today is definitely one of those days where we're going to be looking at some data that we collected over what, Tim, the past 48 hours?
Yeah, let's actually share it right now and we can capture some last conversations or
some last data.
Yeah.
So if there's anyone here that has not filled out this survey, please jump in. It's literally 2 questions. So if you're in the community, hang on, I'll chat that here. If you're in our community, if you're not in our community, you won't be able to chime in. But if you are, go in there and then just click on, I'm going to say no change and no change. And then you can hit submit. I won't do that because I don't want to taint the data. But this poll, we have about 120 or so at last count, Tim. So we have a really good data set considering to have 120 studios or production companies chiming in to say, recently sales have been increasing or decreasing, and over the next quarter, I expect sales are increasing or decreasing. What else?
There's
What else do
two
we
things I'm
say?
excited about that number, by the way, 120. And one is it's about exactly 20% of our growing community, 600 studios now. So that's pretty awesome. And we did Joel and I had a side meeting the other day with the representative from Circle, who is a platform we run the community on. And they were talking about our engagement levels, and they're huge compared to most communities. So congratulations to all of you being active and working through this community and being part of it. It's really great to have you as members and participating. The other part I appreciate about those numbers is I think we have a pretty legitimate look at how the industry is doing and what the results are. Joel, let's explain why in giving people a chance to just fill out the poll for the last minute here. Let's just do the why we did the poll, because it came from the conversation on Monday we were having about a theory that we've been processing of who is winning and who isn't winning. And we were wondering, is it just, a small group of people that are experiencing something, or are we seeing something of a mega trend that would be helpful to give people advice and some encouragement of how to pursue the work?
Well, for context, this year has obviously, but maybe not obviously for everyone, been extremely tough. I mean, really challenging. Second quarter was easily the worst quarter on average for all of these hundreds of studios that we know. And as things have been somewhat improving since then, we want to know, are they? Is this just anecdotal information we're hearing from studios that are doing better, but we're hearing from some that are doing worse? And we said, well, gosh, it would be great to get some look at the actual data in a volume so we can have a representative sample. But the other theory we had, Tim, is, you want me to share my little
Yeah, you were drawing hard, so you might as well show people your drawings.
Right. Okay, let me turn off, make sure that my camera's clear. Oh, it is good. Okay, so this is a theory that Tim and I have been talking about. Is, let's just pretend that this is a $500,000 studio, just for, let's say that each studio is doing $500,000 a year. Some studios, like Studio A, are doing 10 projects at $50,000 each or something like that. And then you have another studio that is doing 2 jobs that are $250,000. So they're doing the same amount of revenue. We're seeing a bunch of, again, anecdotal information that's saying, if you're Studio A, you're struggling. You're having a really hard time winning these smaller, call it $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 size jobs. Whereas we see more of these studios that are doing really well. Some of them actually are doing great right now. And that just makes us curious. Why? What's changing? So that's one of the questions on my.
It's almost like the $25,000 job disappeared. And
Right.
if that's the market you were in and you're pursuing it and you positioned yourself for that work, say like a volume work, low price volume work, either the competition got so fierce because the economy got bad and everyone fell down into like the lower levels, or that lower level kind of work is just busy work for the major brands and they're going after large, big picture changes, movement, and that hasn't trickled itself out yet. We haven't got the execution part of the workout, and the bigger processes, the branding processes and the strategic processes are all still being played out right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking of things like, we all know there's increasing competition, right? Because there's more of you guys out there. Of course, I use the term guys, meaning there's more studios, there's more production companies than ever. There's also things like social media influencers are taking a bigger and bigger piece of that pie. COVID is long gone, so to speak, in our rearview mirror in terms of those things. So all of those macro trends are now settling in. Like one thought I was having earlier with one of my clients, Tim, an owner, we were talking about the 30-second spot. and how COVID almost made the 30-second spot kind of resurge. It kind of came back for a while because we're all sitting at home watching TV. And now that that is over, it's really over. Like they're not coming back. The 30-second spots that people were doing last year for $150,000, $200,000, not only are they not coming back, but the things that are coming back are, well, we're going to do something similar, but it's $25,000 or $50,000 this year. So like you said, the things that you were positioned for are changing, and we're trying to get at some answers here.
So why don't you show the polls in a second, but I also just wanted to hear your honest kind of expectation of what you thought the poll results were going to be, and then we'll see what they really were. But I don't have as much visibility on the poll right now, so I'm going blind. Joel's actually seen it, but I'm curious what your expectations were, and then I'll see if how close you were to reality.
So the question of have your sales been recently increasing or decreasing, I thought it would be slightly increasing, but barely, because I overall I've seen a little bit of an increase maybe in the past month. So I thought that would be pretty nominal. In terms of looking forward, something tells me that creative people and creative entrepreneurs are generally optimists. So I expected to see a pretty strong percentage of people saying, I think things are going to increase. That combined with, I think, the macroeconomic, the war in Ukraine is hopefully not getting worse, and there's no major, instabilities in the global markets and things like that. So it seems like my guess was we're going to see an increase.
I think the way we asked the question, is your sales going up? We didn't ask in dollars or number of projects. So I guess my expectation is not really, is what I would guess people would say. And then looking forward, I think we're going into Q4. And from all signs I've read, it seems like things are going up in number of projects that are out there. So those are my expectations. So let's look at some numbers.
Do it. Okay. So
let's see what we can discern from this.
Okay. So 123 responses is what we've got. So thank you. A few of you jumped in here last minute. So have sales at your company been recently increasing or decreasing compared to Q2? Okay. Wow. Which just recently ended. And yeah, over half said increasing. So that's
really great.
Yeah, that's bigger than I expected, and kind of good news. I think what kind of broke my heart though was this one. Like the people who said, a quarter of the people said decreasing, because what I'm hearing there is it was already like Q1 was bad, Q2 was super bad. So for those of you that are here, I'm worried.
Yeah, well said. I mean, that's 25% of the poll results. So that does kind of show that some of the voices that we've been hearing of things getting bad are true, and it's happening. There is, I feel like it's a little bit of a bias that the decreasing voices seem to be louder than the increasing voices. So I think that threw me off a little bit. I'm with you. I kind of didn't expect increasing to be as well positioned. And maybe it's maybe you don't want to jinx yourself. So if things are going well right now, you just don't want to say anything. But and it's good in a community if things are not going as well to call for help. Like that's what the community is about. So maybe this is the way it's supposed to be.
I think there's also a certain amount of, some of the owners I know that are really busy and doing well and making a lot of money right now, they don't want to be rude, right? Like when somebody is saying, hey, I'm dying over here, you don't want to chime in and say, really? Because I'm doing just fine. That can be very glib. So I think there is a certain amount of the people that are struggling are more visible or more vocal, which is natural. So let me scroll down now. So as you look ahead to Q4,
wow,
do you anticipate sales to be increasing or decreasing? And look at this, not quite 2/3 say increasing. No change. So about a quarter of the people are saying no change. And then about 1/6 that's interesting. About 1/6 are saying, hey, I think it might get a little worse from here on out in terms of sales.
Yeah,
So what is
Val
this?
is saying right now in chat that just the tech sector, SaaS and IT, that still seems to be hurting, kind of like decreasing in certain segments. So that's a good thing to point out. Where you fall and kind of what the work that you do can have a bigger impact on what you're seeing here. It
Right.
kind of makes me think of this cash flow I've been running with a company for a while now, those last 6 months. And the time between buckets, right? Like how often they would get paid to meet cash flow was causing stress. It's too far apart to keep up with the burn rate. But really over the last month or so, we've been able to fill it in with real money, and the sales seem to be keeping up with a different pace. Almost a year and a half ago, I was talking about the pace at which projects were awarded has a major impact. And I think some of us are falling into sync into a new pattern, and so we can keep up with, and our burn rate and our revenue are going back into sync again. Which is a big thing to recognize. If sales goes down or the economy changes, it's really the synchronization of your expenses and your revenue that you have to put into place more than total volume or total amount.
Right.
But I think that's what this number seems to be pointing out too, is like, oh, the pattern is back, or the ability to find something to fill in a blank, more confidence in that area.
Yeah, I'm looking at the notes here and just seeing some good points and observations. Noticed, first of all, what Jose had to say here about anytime there's a downturn, there's a squeeze from the top talent who lower their rates and standards to take on smaller jobs. They squeeze out many of the people who subsist on those smaller jobs. Maybe that's part of what's going on here, Tim. When I think of, I don't know, I want to be careful, but when I think of if I was a buyer and I needed to get a $20,000 explainer video done, wow, like nowadays, there's a lot of freelancers that could do that for me, that years ago, I needed a studio to do that. And again, I'm always going to advocate for why you go to a studio. It's not just to get the work done, right? It's for expertise, and it's for risk mitigation, and that confidence that you have. But that is a reality that we're all dealing with, right? That process of ephemeralization.
Yeah, right.
You know. So,
yeah.
Did you see Ryan's comment here as well about 2 quarters?
Yeah, I think these are great comments, by the way. I almost feel like we should turn on everyone's camera because we're definitely hitting on something here.
Sure.
One of them, I think it was Ed, is asking about looking at revenue numbers, which we do often do in quarterly reports. So in the next 3 weeks or so, we might be able to look at some of this revenue and the overall kind of global pattern. For me, I think there is something of that, what you're saying, Joel, the freelancer world can be a disruption as well at the lower end of these projects. So that the disruption we're feeling really is the movement of projects, or the likelihood of someone getting a project. But we've talked about these terms of like how to grow in confidence, and how to build yourself in a place that's not the competition you're working in. And it starts with the be known, be known for something, and what you want to do in your positioning, and then be liked in what you're doing, or in other words, have good relationships. But lastly, like, be trusted in what you're doing. And I think that trust factor is what makes a big benefit there. So there's no trust.
That's in my little note I was creating before we got on, while I was madly drawing, right? But yeah, I thought you asked a really interesting question, though, because you took that common paradigm of, sure, these clients are on a journey from know to like to trust. But it's an interesting question. How did you phrase it? You were like, how can you be known? How can you be liked? And how can you be trusted? It's an interesting question, right? What's the journey we're taking these clients on? Because if being known isn't enough, because that's just going to get you those smaller projects where things are more competitive, then how does someone be more liked? How does someone be more trusted?
Yeah, and we'll say, like, so being trusted is the ultimate goal, right? So that when it's the larger project, if you're wondering why you're not being asked to do a $250,000 project, could be one that you're not known to do those kind of projects. That's on you. But also the long-term gain of work, doing jobs like this, you can be trusted in executing it and getting to the other side. So being trusted is one where you've taken on the risk from your client and are able to remove that risk and execute and give them a sense that it's going to be better in your hands than their hands. That's the value-based proposition. Anytime you hear us talking about pricing, workload, execution, we're always talking about value-based because that's where it falls, isn't it? That trust factor and being trusted. Being like's a little bit different though, Joel, right? It's not the pixels on the screen kind of element. It's not just making pretty stuff to make it work. Being liked has an element of the relationships that you're working with.
Well, I got two epiphanies for you that I have to give credit to Felipe and Raf from Moe Studio. They were in New York last week and we got to catch up, which was super awesome. And they run Moe Studio, and let's just say that they are very serious and deliberate with how they do their marketing to move people from this know to like to trust journey. And when I was asking them like, what's working and what's not working? Are you doing SEO? Is it inbound? Is it outbound? We were talking through all this stuff. The one big thing that at one point Felipe said to me was, I think a lot of studios got used to having an easy button, and the easy button's gone. So if you don't know how to do marketing, then you certainly are not going to produce sales. But it's just like, we used to live in this world where we could tell people, we do animation, we do video, we do production, whatever, and a certain number of jobs would show up. And his assertion was, they're gone. No one is coming to you because they need animation or a video or an explainer. They're coming to you because they need a result, right? Like, I need to convert, I need to launch a product, I need to bring in a bunch of shareholders, whatever. So if you don't know how to speak that language and market and position yourself that way, then you're in a really difficult spot because people aren't going to buy from you, basically.
And it makes sense why we're have that language or in that marketplace when we first get started. It's what we were recognized for going into owning a business. We had a certain skill or look or attention that we were getting, and we leveraged that to get our first projects. And it's so easy early on to just point to that. Oh no, I'm the guy that did this. I'm the lady that made this, this certain type of animation, or I have this special skill that just came out and no one else touches it. But that is such a commodity-based transaction of, great, you have a skill. How much time does it cost? And by the hour to do that, I'll just pay you by the hour and get that work out of you. Business ownership has a greater proposition. And moving again backwards, that first step though is to be known. That's where really the beginning of the conversation takes place. What you're known for, how you put yourself out there, and how you explain yourself is so important. And if you're only talking about the skills and the hours and past projects using case studies of execution, that kind of stuff, you're just pushing commodity all day long. And it's not, there isn't work for it, but those are the $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 projects. That's the work you get. There's no big project in the commodity because they're looking for a partner. And a partnership is at the very end a value-based proposition, not a commodity proposition. And if you have to be known from the beginning to be looking for that partnership, it won't evolve in the like stage, is what I'm saying. You can't be known for commodity and the like stage convert them to trust and then get there. You're trusted for what you're known for. So you have to start at the beginning with that kind of language, understanding, and proposition.
So I'm thinking of two other things. One, all from this past week, from another conversation where a studio owner I was talking about how I get email blasts from studios because I like to keep track of like what they're up to, right? And this person made the point, wait, you're telling me they just have still images in their email blasts of their recent work that they're talking about? Why isn't that in motion? Aren't they a motion company? Aren't they a production company? And the more we talked about it, I suddenly realized, wait a minute. We are so guilty of lecturing and trying to sell our clients on what they should be doing, and we're not doing it ourselves.
So
Shame on us.
So true.
Shame on us. And so now I'm on this mission to be like, you know what? Every studio, production company, sound design, whatever it is that you do, if you're telling your clients, hey, you should come to us to create this thing because it's going to help you market and sell yourself. If you're not using it yourself, one, you could say you're a hypocrite, but you're just simply not, you're selling dog food, but you're not eating it yourself. So think about that. Think about, you're a creative company. What does it look like for you to literally speak, market, message, all that with all the superpower? And I don't mean showing your work. I do not mean showing your work. Okay. So if you look at what Moe Studio does, believe me, they are doing motion design about motion design. It's really great. The other thing I can't remember. So help me jog my memory, Tim.
I don't know. I was stuck on the fact that you're trying to eat the dog food that you're trying to sell. That do you actually eat the dog food you sell, Joe? No.
I hope so. I hope so.
No, I think it's really the thought process of start at the very beginning in the value-based proposition and know where that work is. I think when we push ourselves creatively, we're imagining most people buy the pixels. So a lot of websites that you roast have wallpaper, as we call it, just a bunch of pixels, pretty pixels, really gorgeous pixels, famous pixels, but they're just pixels, and doesn't give me any understanding of what it's like to work with you, who you are, or why you make a difference. And the language that people use really kind of commoditizes them, brings them down to, a pick me kind of message, instead of something that says, oh, I'm someone that's unique. Moving from the A to the process that you would like to talk about, Joel, is one that requires you to distinguish yourself from the rest. That's where the trust begins, from the very beginning, to be known. Then you'll be liked for being that, and then of course trusted for being that. And that's where you're going to get the better work, higher end work.
All right. So some people that work with me one-on-one have already seen this. So forgive me. I'm going to go on a little like love fest for a moment. But one company, this is an agency that I'm currently in love with the way they present themselves, because it pushes me down this know, like, trust journey, is Collins. And I'm excited. I think I'm going to actually meet Brian Collins here in the next couple of weeks. But look at this. I just want to share a screen here real quick to say, how many of us have the guts to speak like this? Make your future so irresistible so it becomes inevitable. All right, you just made me really curious. Notice there's no we in this sentence here, people. Okay, so take note. The other thing I want to show you is look at the way the work is presented, because it all starts right here. There's the work that's being done, and then they're answering the question right here, why should I care? They're not saying, oh, this is a video, or this is an explainer, or this is design. They're not talking about the input or the skills. They're talking about the outcomes. So just go look at this website. It's freaking gorgeous, of course, work, but they're moving me forward, speaking my language as a buyer. Like, why wouldn't I want to work with these people? They are producing results, and that's what I want. I really don't want a video. I don't want an animation. I don't want an explainer. I want leads. I want shareholders. I want a promotion, right? So if I'm your client, help me get that. And now we're on that know, like, trust, and hopefully we're increasing sales and not decreasing your sales.
Yeah. There's I'll go back to the poll here too. I think there's something in being asked a very basic question that can give you an outlook of something strong and recognize the opportunity for yourself. Just by asking two really simple questions of yourself every once in a while. Hey, how did this quarter match up to my expectations? Is it better or worse? How much? How much better? How much worse than it was? Or if I look forward, more importantly, what are the outcomes can I see? And that's what you can change. You can change the moving forward aspects of your company, your career. And I love the idea that there is optimism in the second question, because I think people recognize that there is opportunity to go after a greater work, a greater job, more work. It's effort. There's not you don't get it for free, but the opportunities are there. How do I go get them? And what's the workload that I need to put in to make that happen? I love that idea, Joel. What you're saying is we'll start from the very beginning, even on your website, to say, trust me.
Yeah.
Let's move right there from that point on to getting to know them, and therefore eventually being trusted.
So I'm interested, maybe the next time we do a poll, because maybe this is part 2 of this even, is to ask some of these questions people have been asking here on the side about what sectors, right, are people working in that are maybe increasing, decreasing. That's kind of interesting. And the other question I'm having is job size. I almost wish we could have done this poll and said, hey, what's the average job size you're doing these days? And I know that's some people might be a little sensitive about sharing that, but as long as the data is anonymous, I'd be really curious to know if the people that are doing 20 to 50,000 size jobs are seeing recent increase, decrease versus people that are doing $200,000 size jobs. So there's more for us to learn, clearly.
Well, I have to say, I'm going to wrap this up by just pivoting a little bit and saying I'm excited that we're hitting the 600 person mark inside our RevCommunity. The momentum is building up. The orientation calls I'm doing have 8 to 10 people in them, where they used to have 2 to 3 people in them. So the momentum is gathering, and thank you all for promoting that and being part of the community. If you're not part of community, you should go to our website right now, revthink.com/community, and join us. It doesn't cost anything currently. It might never cost anything. I don't know, but there's a lot of opportunities, and things like the weekly briefing replays are available to you, so you can watch those. But more important, meet other business owners like yourself and have open conversations and encourage each other.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see Patrick Ortman here. We hung out in New York last week, and he was saying such complimentary things about this community. Like, Joel, what you guys have built here is really remarkable. It's really special. So thank you for that feedback. We do it because we love it, and we love our industry, and we're excited to support all of you guys to just keep on crushing it. So,
Joel, I have a dream one day we can actually get all these folks together in a real life place.
I know it's coming.
Pick a location.
Yeah. Maybe it's New York or LA, but maybe it's somewhere exotic or
yeah, I said
warm. All right. Yeah, let's go see you two at the Sphere. There you go. Thanks, Ryan. All right. Well, thanks everyone for being part of this conversation. Tim, thanks for carrying this torch with me. And if you join into the community, be sure to fill out the poll. It'll be live there for a little while longer. And Tim, thanks. I'll see everyone next week or in the community between now and then.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.